Big business.
RSK, let it play, boy.
When I tell them I'm an Israelite, it's big business, nothing miniature. The same thing as Mr. Kill the flesh, how to finish him. These commandments, they'll sustain you. I'm surrounded by these angels. I ain't worried, I'm protected from seen and unseen dangers. I tell them I'm an Israelite, it's big business, nothing miniature. Serve the same thing as minister. Kill the flesh, how to finish him. These commandments, they'll sustain you. I'm surrounded by these angels. I ain't worried, I'm protected. Ain't unseen danger. I wake up and say me a prayer. Brush my teeth, babe, then I throw on some threads. Wash my face, grab a cup, pour me some yum. Put on my backpack, then I'm off to the bread. I eat these devils for breakfast. Gotta be careful. Whole lot of blood being shed in the streets. World is so wicked, I weep for the living. I drop a free cheer for the dead. All my white friends in my pocket, or either they loading onto this black card that I swipe. Say every time that I drop it, the verses be hitting more harder than problems of life. Rich, I collected 2 pennies from every person that willingly gave me advice. Being afraid, how they my spirit, I'm fearing no man but the Father in Christ. I put in work with we stood on them corners from 10 to like 9 at some night, teaching our people the gospel, equipped with a camera, some posters, some speakers, and mic. Every time that I see mama, she telling me, son, you gotta walk in the light. Christ, the bread of heaven, keep feeding my spirit, and I wanna learn how to slide. When I tell them I'm an Israelite, it's big business, nothing miniature. Serve the same thing as minister. Kill the flesh, how to finish him. These commandments, they'll sustain you. I'm surrounded by these angels. I ain't worried, I'm protected from seen and unseen dangers. When I tell them I'm an Israelite, it's big business, nothing miniature. Serve the same thing as minister. Kill the flesh, how to finish him. These commandments, they'll sustain you. I'm surrounded by these angels. I ain't worried, I'm protected from seen and unseen dangers.
When I tell you I'm an Israelite, tribe of Judah, don't you take it personal. Bleed the blood on these demons, we purging them. Don't entertain Jezebels, we be curving them. Ayy, I got a red, she virtuous. In person, this blue life ain't virtual. I can't forget when I heard the truth. I got cut with that word. Conviction can lead to repentance. I pray. Encourage you, we repenting, now we on the vertical. Judah rising, see Isaiah 32. Big business, nothing minuscule. I picked up that back in middle school. Guard your light and take heed who you listen to. Watch your mouth and your ears and your vision too. Hashatan and Shalkani won't finish you. In Mortal Kombat, this war is not physical. Gird your loins up and follow the general. Messiah coming, that's scriptural. You gotta starve your flesh. The real war ain't even started yet. This look like a setup for a second exodus. I'm trying to be where the war at. Let's get it.
When I tell them I'm an Israelite, it's big business, nothing miniature. Serve the same thing as minister. Kill flesh, how to finish him. These commandments, they'll sustain you. I'm surrounded by these angels. I ain't worried, I'm protected from seen and unseen dangers. When I tell them I'm an Israelite, it's big business, nothing miniature. Serve the same thing as minister. Kill the flesh, how to finish him. These commandments, they'll sustain you. I'm surrounded by these angels. I ain't worried, I'm protected from seen and unseen dangers.
Shalom, shalom, Yap gang in the building. Yap, we back at it, man. Every day we've been, giving you guys that content, straight, dope, no BS. You know how we rock.
You have to use your phone. You could use your phone,
Son,
I'm sorry, bro.
Let's get right to the nitty gritty. My brother Shawn is here. He's going to be bringing forth a powerful presentation on 2 Kings 17 in correlation with the YDNA. And with no further ado, brother, introduce yourself and let's get right to it, man. Yeah.
Shalom, family. How y'all doing? All right. So, first, let me stand by, family. Rachel.
Yeah, so you brothers and sisters that's watching, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, interact, post questions. We're gonna build with you guys. We're here to provide information. My brother Shawn had a powerful presentation for you guys tonight. So y'all just get your popcorn and enjoy.
All right, family, I'm back. How y'all doing tonight? Shalom, shalom. All right, so here tonight because this conversation keeps hitting everywhere we go, every time we have a discussion. This topic keeps coming up, with the Samaritans. Brothers have been bringing it up. 2 Kings 17. First, let me say, listen, I'm a little tired, been working all day, so allow me some time as we build. Allow my presentation to build. I'm a little tired, so if I stumble on my words a little bit, just give me some time and let the flow, let the flow take control, and everything should clear up. So I basically had a big presentation that I'm putting together that's crossing probably about I want to say 1,200 years in biblical time concerning the corruption of the Levitical priesthood. This particular part dealing with the Samaritans was part of it. So I am actually pulling that part out to do this segment here, just so, because like I said, this topic has been coming up. All right. So first of all, I want to shout out the Yap Gang, putting in work. Avery's been putting in work. Sister Shari, Brother Shub has always been putting in work. He's been doing it for years. So let me shout out my Yap Gang. Also, I just want to elucidate some things. Last night we had a discussion. It came up again about 2 Kings 17 and the Samaritans. There's been times in the past that I've brung this conversation up. Yeshub and I on Clubhouse. I want to say around April or March of last year, and we was on with Yitzhak, Melanek, Sister Shari, Bro Rule, and we was just having a build, and Yitzhak brung up the Samaritan Jews, and I had to, it wasn't any contention. First of all, I want to make sure that's clear. It wasn't any contention, but I had to reiterate to him that all the Samaritans were not, that the Samaritans were basically foreigners. Without further ado, let me just jump right into it. Okay, cool. So how did I start this? I got into this because of, this particular topic. Some years ago, there was a lecture done by Bro Divine Prospect about like 8 years ago. And the topic was, who are the Edomites today? And in this particular, I'm sure a lot of y'all see this. I actually watched it. It might have been like a week old when I actually watched it. And he brung up 2 Kings 17 in this. And he named off the nations that were a part of the Samaritan, the Northern Kingdom, the nations that were brought into Samaria by the Assyrian king. And it struck me. It struck a chord with me. Now, he wasn't trying to correlate them to the Edomites. He was just doing his presentation. But he brung this up and he made a point about the Sepharvarim. He never, said what the purpose of using or bringing up the Sepharvarim was for, but nevertheless he brought it up. But it struck a chord with me, so I said, okay, let me dig into this further. So about 8 years ago, I started digging into this particular topic. So let's jump into scripture right now. All right. So the cities of Israel filled with strangers. Okay. So here in 2 Kings 17, verse 24, we start to see where the Assyrian king brings in these foreigners. So I'm just going to run through Kings 2 Kings 17 real quick, and then from there we'll move forward. All right. So, and the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, from Cutha, from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim. This is what caught me, this particular word right here. Now, I don't want to get off topic, but I just want to, this word is very familiar to us, Sephardim, so we'll get into that a little later. All right. So, let's start over again. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Cutha and from Ava and from Hamath and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there, that they feared not the Lord. Therefore the Lord sent lions among them, which slew some of them. Wherefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, the nations which you have removed and placed in the cities of Samaria now know not the manner of the God of the land. Therefore he hath sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them, because they know not the manner of the God of the land. Then the king of Assyria commanded, saying, carry thither one of the priests whom ye brought from thence, and let them go and dwell there, and let him teach them the manner of the God of the land. So we see here, okay, I'm going to stop for a second. We see here, let me take out the Strongs because I'm not ready to use that yet. Kingdom to captivity, instead of leaving the area, it's a large piece of land. The Northern Kingdom comprised of 9 to 10 tribes of Israel. So it was a large slither of land. And instead of leaving it empty, what king wants an area that is empty, that he conquered? He wants it to continue to have commerce where he could tax it and things of that nature. So he brought people in after he took Israel out. He brought people in to pretty much run the land, to continue the commerce, to keep the city thriving or bustling. Okay. Then the king of Assyria commanded, saying, carry thither one of the priests whom ye have brought from thence, and let him go and dwell there, and let them teach them the manner of the God of the land. Then one of the priests whom they had carried away from Samaria came and dwelt in Bethel, and taught them how they should fear the Lord. Howbeit every nation made gods of their own, and put them in the houses of the high places which the Samaritans had made, every nation in their cities wherein they dwelt. So here we have, if I go into the Strong's Concordance, we're going to see pretty much that the Sumerians, they started bringing their own gods and their own deities and started worshiping them in the land. So what I want to do is, okay, let's go down. Okay, so made the every nation and the cities wherein they dwelt. And the men of Babylon ate Succoth. All right, and Succoth is proper down. We got Succoth ben Oth and Succoth ben Oth, daughters of the Booths, Assyrian or Babylonian deity worshipped by the Babylonians in Sumeria. All right. Succoth ben Oth from Strong's Concordance number, and the irregular plural, again, the Strong's Concordance number for that, booths of the daughters, brothels idolatrous tents for impure purposes. All right. So, if you want, I'm going to try to move forward because it's kind of late. So, but you can go into this and you go into the Strongs. You've seen how I just did it. And you could click on each one of these particular gods, and you can see who these people, who these deities were, and what they was praying to them for, basically. All right, so let's move forward. Let's come out of these Strongs again. And the it's okay. Where we at? And the men of Babylon made Sukkah-Benoth, and the men of Cuth made Negral, and the men of Hamath made Ashima, and the Evites made Nebah and Tartak, and the Sepharvarites burnt their children in the fire of Abimelech. All right, so again, you could go into the Strongs, and we could find, these Sepharvarim. Sepharvaim burnt their children in the fire to Adramelech. All right, and so we have Adramelech, honor of the king. Adar is prince. Adar is counselor, decider, an idol of God of the Sepharvarites, introduced to Israel by Shalmaneser V, the son and murderer of Sennacherib. All right, so you could go into this and you can find those interesting points. All right, so let's keep moving. Children of Amalek in the fire. Okay, so they feared the Lord and made unto themselves of the lowest of them priests. All right, of the high places, which sacrificed for them in the houses of the high places. They feared the Lord and served their own gods after the manner of the nations whom they carried away from thence. All right, so these people still feared the Lord. They had the lessons. They had the the scribes, the priests come in and teach them about the God of the land, but they still continue to worship their own gods. Unto this day, they do after the former manner. So up until this point, or that they continue to worship these gods. They fear not the Lord, neither do they after their statutes, or after their ordinances, or after the law and commandment which the Lord commanded the children of Jacob, whom he named Israel, with whom the Lord had made a covenant and charged them, saying, Ye shall not fear other gods, nor bow yourselves to them, nor serve them, nor sacrifice to them. But the Lord who brought you up out of the land of Egypt with great power and strength and stretched out arms, him shall ye fear, and him shall ye worship, and to him shall ye do sacrifices. And the statutes and ordinances and the law and the commandments which he wrote for you, ye shall observe to do forevermore, and ye shall not fear other gods. And the covenant that I have made with you, ye shall not forget, neither shall ye fear other gods. But the Lord your God ye shall fear, and he shall deliver you out of the hand of all your enemies. Howbeit they did not hearken, but they did after their former manner. So these nations feared the Lord and served their graven images, both their children and their children's children, as did their fathers. So did they do unto this day. All right, so let's move forward now. So let's go to the meat and potatoes. All right, so here we have a genetic study on the Samaritans, genetics and the history of the Samaritans, Y chromosomal microsatellites, and genetic affinity between Samaritans and Kohanim. All right, so let me make a quick caveat about this. So, like I said, for some time now, every once in a while, I would have to bring this up. I did it some time ago, last year, around April. with Bro Yeshub, and a few people was in the room. Yitzhak Melanek, Yitzhak kept bringing up, the Samaritans and how they were all E haplogroup, and I made it very clear to him that Scripture says that that is not so. That these people, the Samaritans, were foreigners. I did not have genetic study for it at the time, but I knew and understood this just from reading Scripture and reading, a few other books that I have, as well as Josephus, which we'll get into after we finish this. All right, because Josephus pretty much tells us how the Samaritans conducted themselves and how the Samaritans were basically adversaries to Judah, who was still in the land. We also have to remember that the Northern Kingdom never came back. After they was taken out, they never came back. So these Samaritans was in this land from the time they was put there in around 722 BC up until today. Not all of them are still there. They have migrated into other areas, but there are still few left, and that's who this genetic study is on. Also, probably about like a few months ago, Bro Hadani, he should be in the chat right now. Bro Hadani, Naya Hadani, we spoke. He had actually posted something in Genesis 49 is concerning the Samaritan Jews. His premise and why he was using it was to debunk the 12 tribes chart. But once I seen it posted, I reached out to him. He reached back out to me, and we had about a 45-minute discussion. We were both at work. I told him what I was working on. I told him I seen his work. I liked his work, and he was intrigued by what I had already been doing with 2 Kings 17, and we built from there. And then he told me if he run into anything concerning it, that he would send it to me. And sure enough, within like a week, he hits me back and he sends me this particular study. Now, prior to this, I had spoke to Yeshua, and I had spoke to Ivri, and I had told them that this 2 Kings 17 thing that kept coming up, and I was trying to make sure everybody understood that the Samaritans were still foreigners. They were always foreigners. They were still foreigners up until this day, especially dealing with a diaspora of Israelites, coming from Yemen, like Yitzhak is from Yemen. We have another brother that was joining us on Clubhouse. He was from Eritrea, so we build with everybody. When we on Clubhouse, we build with everybody. So, but moving forward, so I had said to Ivri and Yeshua and Sister Shari, as well as Ruth Smith, Bro Ruth Smith, I told them all, I said, look, I would love to put some DNA to this, but I can't find a study on it. But anyway, some time went by, and sure enough, Bro Hadani blessed me with this. Now, to keep it a buck, maybe like a month and a half after that, Abu had posted this particular study in the Rumble Room, or was it Genesis 4? He might have posted it in both, but I believe it was in the, it was in the Rumble Room. And I hit Abu back and told him that I had to study, and this was a good study. All right, so let's move forward. All right, so genetics and the history of the Samaritan Y chromosomal microsatellites and genetic affinity between Samaritans and the Kohanim. And you see the different people who worked on it: University of Regensburg, Germany, University of Regensburg, Germany. These people, you see their names: Stanford Genome Technology, other schools, Brasilia Medical Center, Asaf Haruf Medical Center in Israel, Haref, I believe it's pronounced. I might have been pronouncing it wrong. And then we move down: genetics and the history of the Samaritans, Y chromosomal microsatellites and genetic affinity between Samaritans and the Kohanim. And again, the participate geneticists who worked on it, the different institutes. You could find this, you guys could really dig into it after, we finish here. You can find this. Again, I'm going to bring it up. This is the name of it if y'all want to take note. All right. And so let's move forward. Okay, abstract. The Samaritans are a group of some 750 indigenous Middle Eastern people, about half of whom live in Holland, a suburb of Tel Aviv, and the other half near Nablus. The Samaritan population is believed to have numbered more than 1 million in late Roman times, but less than 150 in 1917. The ancestry of the Samaritans has been subject to controversy from late biblical times to the present. In this study, liquid chromatography, electrospray, ionization, quadruple ion trap mass, spectrometry was used to allelotype 13 Y chromosomal and 15 autosomal microsatellites in a sample of 12 Samaritans chosen to have a low level of relationship as possible. That was a mouthful. All right. And 461 Jews and non-Jews. Estimation of genetic distances between the Samaritans and 7 Jewish and 3 non-Jewish populations from Israel, as well as populations from Africa, Pakistan, Turkey, and Europe, revealed that the Samaritans were closely related to Kohanim. This result supports the position of the Samaritan that they are descendants from the tribes of Israel dating to before the Assyrian exile in 722 to 720 BCE. In concordance with previous publishing, nucleotide polymorphism haplotypes, each Samaritan family, with the exception of the Samaritan Kohanim lineage, was observed to carry a distinctive Y chromosome, short tandem repeat haplotype that was not more than 1 mutation removed from the 6 marker Kohanim model haplotype. Introduction. The origin of the Samaritans, a district religion and cultural minority in the Middle East, has generated controversy among historians, biblical scholars, and Orthodox Jewish sects. Talmud 2002. According to their tradition, they are descendants of Ephraim and Manasseh and sons of Joseph and Levitical priests from Shechem, traditionally associated with the contemporary city of Nablus. Much of the controversy concerning their origin revolves around the conquest of the northern biblical kingdom of Israel by the Assyrians under Sargon II. This is understood to have taken place in 722 to 721 BCE. It was the custom of the Assyrians to replace the people of a conquered area by people from elsewhere in the Nimrod prism, inscribed clay documents generally attributed to Sargon. The victory over Samaria, the northern kingdom, is recorded. Futch, 1994. The inhabitants of Samaria, who agreed and plotted with the king, hostile to me, not to do service and not to bring tribute to Ashur, and who did battle, I fought against them with the power of the great gods, my lords. I counted as spoil 27,280 people, together with their chariots and gods, in which they trusted. I formed a unit with 200 of their chariots for my royal force. I settled the rest of them in the midst of Assyria. I repopulated Samaria more than before. I brought into the people from countries conquered by my hands, and I appointed my eunuch as governor over them, and I counted them as Assyrians. Nimrod prisms. All right, and that's the page. All right. The biblical book of Kings describes the results the result of the Assyrian victory in similar terms. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Cutha and from Ara and from Hamath and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel, and they possessed Samaria. 2 Kings 17 and 24. All right. However, recalling that Hezekiah ruled the southern kingdom of Judah from 715 BCE after the Assyrian victory, the following passage from the book of Chronicles seems to contradict the above statement from 2 Kings. And Hezekiah sent to all Israel and Judah and wrote letters also to Ephraim and Manasseh that they should come to the home of the Lord of Jerusalem to keep the Passover. All right, 2 Chronicles 30 and 1. After the Emperor Cyrus allowed the Judean exiles to return from Babylon in 538 BCE, the reconstruction of the temple began in earnest, basically. I'm adding there, I shouldn't have said that, but the temple began in 520 BCE. The historian Talmud, 2002, refers to disputes between the Samaritans and the leaders of the returned exiles over where to build the temple. The Samaritans wanting it at their sacred Mount Gerizim rather than Jerusalem. Talmud regards the claims of the Book of the Kings to have been an attempt by the leaders of the returning exiles to ostracize the Samaritans, who were subsequently regarded at best as second-class citizens. During the Roman times, 4th and 5th centuries CE, the Samaritans' population is believed to have reached more than 1 million, but persecution, forced conversion, and forced migration by subsequent rulers and invaders decimated the population to extend that they numbered 146 in the year 1917. Ben Ziv, 1957. Okay. Samaritan writing, which resembles ancient Hebrew, is used in their holy scripture. They observe the tenets of the Hebrew Bible, the Torah, but not the other parts of the Jewish scriptures. In addition, membership in the Samaritan group is transmitted along the male line, as opposed to post-biblical rule of Jewish transmission, which is maternal. Children of Samaritan males who marry non-Samaritan females are included as Samaritans, but females who marry outside the Samaritan community are expelled. Marriage among the Samaritans is mostly endogamous, and the group is highly inbred, with 84% of their marriages being marriages between either first or second cousins. The men inbreeding coefficient of 0.0618 is the highest recorded among human population. Bonnet Tamir et al., 1980. Important genetic and demographic studies by Bonnet and colleagues, 1963, 1965, and 1966, reveal differences in many traits from the Middle Eastern population. For example, blood group O and color blindness are more frequent in Samaritans, while G6PD deficiency is less frequent. Their endogamous marriage customs and paternality have exacerbated the historical exclusion of the Samaritans by Orthodox Judaism, which is strictly maternal. Kazes and Bonnet Tamir, 1984, detailed pedigrees among the Samaritans. There are 4 lineages: the Sedaka, who claim descent from the tribe of Manasseh, the Joshua Mariv and Danfi lineages, who claim descendancy from the tribe of Ephraim, and the priestly Kohanim lineages from the tribe of Levi. Ben Ziv, 1957, Score, 2020. I'm sorry, 2002. The present study aims the present study aims at resolving the controversy over the origins of the Samaritans by analysis of 13 Y chromosomal short tandem repeats (STRs) markers in various Jewish and non-Jewish populations from Israel, Africa, Southwest Asia, Europe, as well as 15 autosomal standard tandem repeats in Samaritan and Israeli samples only. Allele typing was accomplished by liquid chrom- chromat- chromatography, electrospray, ionization, quadruple ion trap mass spectrometry. Excuse me. Uh, I can't. I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, but et al. 2001A, 2001B, and 2003, which allowed not only the accurate determination of the allele size, but also the the simultaneous detection of single nucleotide polymorphisms, SNPs, several of which provide information and enable the generation of so-called SNPs, STRs, standard tandem repeats, Mountain et al. 2002. The study finds statistical evidence that the male lineage represented by the Y chromosome presents in today's Samaritans are very similar to those Kohanim, supporting the view that Samaritans have ancient roots in the Israelite population. Okay, materials and methods. So this is basically telling you blood samples were taken from 47 Samaritans living in Holland and Halan, a city just, sorry about that, a city just south of Tel Aviv, after they had given their written consent according to the regulation of the, hold on for a second, people, thank you, just please. Sorry about that, family. Let me start over again. Subjects. Blood samples were taken from 47 Samaritans living in Halan, a city just south of Tel Aviv, after they had given their written consent according to the regulation of the Helsinki Committee. Blood samples were kept at 80 degrees Celsius until phenol chloroform extraction of the DNA from white blood cells. All right. So basically, I'm gonna skip through a lot of this because it's just telling you where the samples were, how they took care of these particular samples. But let's see. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to read some more of this. We originally sampled 27 males, but upon examination of their pedigrees, only one of any pair of individuals more closely related than great-grandfathers, great-grandsons was retained. The final sample comprised 12 individuals for analysis. The final sample comprised 12 individuals for analysis of Y chromosomal polymorphism. 2 each from the Kohanim and Danfi lineages, and 4 each from the Joshua, Mariv, and Sedaka lineages. In addition to the 12 Samaritan individuals, we included in the study 20 Ashkenazi Jews, 20 Iraqi Jews, 20 Libyan Jews, 20 Moroccan Jews, 20 Yemenite Jews, 17 Ethiopian Jews, and 25 Israeli Kohanim. All but the Kohanim, as well as 18 Jews and 20 Palestinians, were obtained from the National Laboratory for the Genetics of Israeli Populations at Tel Aviv University. The 25 Kohanim and 19 additional Palestinians had been ascertained in Tel Aviv. After writing, after written consent had been obtained according to the regulation of the Helsinki Committee, thus the Israeli sample included 12 Samaritans, 142 Jews, and 57 non-Jews from the Human Genome Diversity Panel, maintained at CEF in Paris. 28 Bedouins, 23 individuals from Russia, including six Russians and seven Aegeans, from the Russian Caucasus. 27 Italians, including 14 Sardinians, 20 Barosho, 24 Brahui, 23 Balakai, 20 Opathan, and 20 Kalash were included in the study. 24 African DNA samples were obtained from the Y chromosome consortium collection, and 50 Turkish samples were selected randomly from a total of 523 samples distributed among 91 cities in Turkey. In total, 472 Y chromosome DNA samples from Africa, Southwest Asia, and Europe were genotyped in this study. Among the Israeli groups, one Cohen was removed from autosomal genotyping for all the analyses except table 7. We used 24 of the Cohen Y chromosomes because autosomal genotyping was performed only on 27 cohenine. Table 7 uses only the Y chromosome genotypes, and all 25 cohenine Y chromosomes were used for this analysis. Okay, so now they're going through how they kept what were the protocols for how to keep these particular samples. Okay, same here, more testing and how they do it. Continue. You guys can read that when you get a chance. Okay, DNA sequencing. All right, same thing. Giving you how they sequence it. Genotyping of Y chromosome single nucleotide polymorphism. A total of 84 Y chromosome SNPs were genotyped by DHPLC. All right, for the assignment of Y chromosome to one of the total of the 67 haplogroups. Sorry.
Yeah, you might want to go to the results or the discussion. Yeah.
All right, so let's move. I was just trying to get, because they have some more. All right, well, yeah, let's move. I'm sorry, bro, if I'm taking too long.
No, you good. I'm just, so you don't go through the technical jargon.
Right, that's what I'm trying to. But still, they had some more. They had some more to say about these particular individuals that they.
So that's the discussion right there.
Yeah.
You go up.
Oh yes, there is. There it is. Discussion. Okay. The genetic study of the origin of the Samaritans may assist in the estimation of the historical value of biblical sources and their chronology. Their own origin has been contentious issues for millennia, leading to this discrimination against the Samaritans, and as a consequence to their near extinction at the hands of the various rulers of the southern Levant. Addressing it by means of scientific evidence has been impossible until recently due to the paucity of data. This study, which complements an earlier study based on simple sequence polymorphism discovered by the resequencing of 7,280 BP of non-recombining Y chromosomes and 562 BP of coding and hypervariable segment 1 mitochondrial DNA sequences in Samaritans and neighboring Jewish and non-Jewish populations, Shen et al. 2004, begins to provide an informative genotyping database for the Samaritans and assesses their genetic affinity with their historic neighbors. In recent years, several studies have applied genetic polymorphisms to compare Jews of various ethnic origins. Oster 2001, Hammer et al. 2000 used 18 biallelic Y chromosome markers to study the paternal gene pool of various Jewish Middle Eastern populations. The results suggested that the modern Jewish Y chromosome diversity derived mainly from a common Middle Eastern source population rather than from admixture with neighboring and non-Jewish populations during and after the diaspora. Nabal et al. 2000 used 6 microsatellite and 11 single nucleotide polymorphism SNPs markers on the Y chromosome to reveal 2 model haplotypes of Israeli and Palestinian Arabs. All right, 14% and 8% for the 2 haplotypes. They demonstrate that the Y chromosome distribution in Arabs and Jews was similar but not identical and suggests a relatively recent common ancestor. Rosenberg et al. 2001 studied 20 unlinked autosomal microsatellites in 6 Jewish and 2 non-Jewish populations and found that the Libyan Jewish group retained a genetic signature distinguishable from those of the other populations. They also identify evidence of some similarity between Ethiopian and Yemenite Jewish groups, reflecting possible migration in the Red Sea region. Nabal et al. 2001 analyzed 6 Middle Eastern populations, 3 Jewish and 3 non-Jewish populations residing in Israel, for 13 binary polymorphisms in 6 microsatellite loci. The results show that in comparison with data available from other relevant populations in the region, Jews were found to be more closely related to groups in the north of the Fertile Crescent, Kurds, Turks, and Armenians, than their Arab neighbors, Palestinian Arabs, and Bedouins. Thomas et al. 2002 analyzed the maternally inherited mitochondrial DNA from each of the 9 geographical separated Jewish groups, 8 non-Jewish host populations, and an Israeli-Palestine Arab population. The results suggested that most Jewish communities were founded by relatively few women, that the founding process was independent in different geographical areas, and that subsequent genetic input from females in the surrounding population was limited. Recent studies of microsatellite Kopelman et al. 2009, Lishman et al. 2010, and single nucleotides Atzmon et al. 2010, Behar et al. 2010, Campbell et al. 2012, polymorphisms on autosomes have been able to statistically distinguish European, North African, and Middle Eastern Jewish populations from their non-Jewish neighbors. Our data show that next to the Kohanim, the closest Y chromosome group of the Samaritans using FST is the Yemeni Jews, while using, I'm not going to try to read that, it as the Bedouins, whose autosomals with F base ST are actually the closest to those of the Samaritans, table 5. All right, we're going to get to the table soon, family. These relationships are interesting in light of the close connection between Yemeni Jews and Bedouins shown by the neighbor joining tree in Oster and Skorecki, 2003, which is based on autosomal SNPs. Microsatellite data from markers on Y chromosome will distinguish between Samaritans and other populations in the area. The Samaritans have fewer alleles per microsatellites locus than other populations. This can be explained by their exceptionally small population size and by the high degree of inbreeding inside the community. A related finding of allelic paucity in B. thalassemia gene, among Samaritans was reported by Phelan et al. 1994. The Samaritan Y chromosome are significantly closer to those of the Jewish groups than to Palestinians. Exact tests for population differentiation using Y chromosome, using the Y markers also distinguish Samaritans from Palestinians, but not Samaritans from Jews. The Y chromosome distance of the Samaritans from Palestinians is significantly greater than that of the autosomals. Among the 12 Y chromosomes analyzed, 7 haplotypes were found. 2 were in the Kohanim lineage, the Cohen lineage, 1 in the Joshua Mariv lineage, and 2 in the Danfi lineage, and 2 in the Sedaka lineage. The relationships between these chromosomes are shown as a matrix in Table 2, where the off-diagonal, the off-diagonal elements record the total number of single repeat steps summed over the whole chromosome. Each lineage has at most very minor differences among its members. Bonet et al. 2003 claimed that the custom of the endogamous marriages among the Samaritans is practiced not only within the limits of the community, but also often within each lineage. The Samaritan Kohanim lineage is clearly very different from all others, and there is an indication that the Sedaka lineage separates from the other 3 lineages. In other words, the 9 Y chromosome STL markers seem to resolve the 4 lineages. The broader tribal categories, however, are less clear. The distance of Joshua Marhiv to Danfi, which is actually greater than that to Sedaka, is not in accord with the proposed ancient origins, namely Manasseh for Sedaka, Levi for Cohen, and Ephraim for Danfi and Joshua Marhiv, respectively. The 4 lineages seem clearer as genetic groups than the 3 tribes. The separation of the Samaritan Cohen lineage from others is reflected in the large distance in the first 2 rows of Table 2. Bonet et al. 2003 have also reported that the Samaritan Cohen lineage represents a different Y haplogroup from all other Samaritan lineages. Here, as shown in other studies, e.g. Jobling 2001, Y chromosome haplotypes are surrogates for surnames. Among a number of Jewish populations of either Ashkenaz or Sephardic origin, an important component in the sharing of Y chromosome in the Kohanim model haplotype, the CMH, first described by Thomas et al. 1998. The Kohanim model haplotype is defined by alleles 14, 16, 23, 10, 11, and 12 at the STR loci, and these are the STR loci. I'm not going to read them all, and respectively. The Kohanim model haplotype was observed 23 times in the present study. In 8 of our 25 Kohanim, 3 Ashkenazi, 2 Iraqi, 1 Libyan, and 1 Yemenite Jew, as well as 3 Brahui, 2 Turks, 1 Baluk, and 1 Italian, respectively. 9 of our 12 Samaritans, Table 1, were only 1 step removed from the Kohanim model haplotype, as was the case for 8 Kohanim, 6 Bedouins, 5 Turks, 2 Palestinians, 2 Moroccan Jews, 2 Druze, and 2 Druze, 1 Baluch, and 1 Libyan, Iraqi and Yemenite Jews each. Y chromosome similarities reflected the large number of haplotypes in the sample, which was too small to include only those haplotypes that are observed in at least one population, e.g. Thomas et al. 2000, used a threshold of 10%. In the calculation of identity, it is interesting that in terms of the number of single repeats separating the haplotypes of the Samaritan lineage from the Kohanim model haplotype, the distance between Kohanim model haplotype and C1 and C2 were 6 and 7, respectively, while the distance between between Kohanim model haplotype and the other Samaritan haplotypes were 1, with the single exception of D base 1. This suggests that, contrary to expectation, on the basis of their family names, the Sadaka, Joshua Marhav, and Defani lineage share a common ancestor with the paternally inherited Jewish high priest more recently than those does the Samaritan Kohanim lineage. Hold on, let me take a drink of water. I'm getting tongue-tied here.
Yeah, you got it, man. Powerful information, great article, and disseminate information. I see something on the screen that is going to piss some people off. So I can't wait.
I know, because I've been catching it too. I know Evie is seeing it. Yashar in the building. Yeah, what's going on? Shalom, Yashar. Okay, so where I'm at, sister paternal, more recently than does the Samaritan Cohen lineage. There are 2 main hypotheses for the origin of the Samaritans. The first, which is argued by the Orthodox Jewish authorities and a few modern scholars, Kaufman, 1956, is that Samaritans are not Israelites at all, but were brought to Israel by the Assyrian king when he conquered Israel, 722 to 720 BC, and exiled its people, 2 Kings 17, 23 to 24. If this view were true, assuming that modern Jewish populations are continuous with the ancient Jewish population, we should expect similarity of Samaritans and modern Jewish populations. The second hypothesis, which is argued by the Samaritans themselves, is that they are descendants of Israelites who remained in Israel after the Assyrian conquest and diverged from the mainstream more than 2,500 years ago. They remain isolated until the present time. Although foreign elements from the surrounding Arabic people have been incorporated into their style of life, the Israeli historian S. Tolman supports Samaritans' claim that they are mostly descendants of the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh that remained in Israel after the Assyrian conquest. His opinion is that the statement in the Bible, 2 Kings 17 and 24, is tendentious and intended to ostracize the Samaritans from the rest of Israel's people. See also Kogan and Tadmor, 1988. In fact, 2 Chronicles 30 and 1 may be interpreted as confirming that a large fraction of the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh, i.e. Samaritans, remained in Israel after the Assyrian exile. In comparing Samaritans to Jews and Palestinians, the latter comprise of local neighboring references population. In his book, Ben Ziv, 1957, indicates that under the rule of the Muslims, end of the 19th century, the Samaritan population gradually declined and they were moved to Egypt, Syria, and other Middle Eastern locations. Gene flow from these local populations to the Samaritans could then have occurred. Taken together, our results suggest that there has been gene flow between non-Samaritan females and the Samaritan population to a significantly greater extent than for males. The males' lineage of the Samaritans, on the other hand, seem to have considerable affinity with those of 5 non-Ethiopian Jewish population examined here. These results are in accordance with expectations based on the endogamous and patrilineal marriage customs of the Samaritans and provide support for ancient genetic relationship between Samaritans and Israelites. All right, then there's the acknowledgement and all the references. You guys could go through that, once you pull up your own copy. And now we're going to go to the results.
Hey, Shawn.
What's up?
A hypothesis where it states that those Samaritans are fake, are the people that were supplanted, are placed there by the Assyrians. If the Jewish community accepts that, then the fake ones, which we already know, we're about to bring it out, that will cancel out the people that's claiming to be of the CMH or the sons of Aaron, also in the land of Israel. It'll cancel them out too because they got the same type of haplogroups, which you about to bring out.
Right. Okay, so Table 1, Samaritan and Cohen model Y chromosomes, STR haplotypes, using type-in nomenclature of Kaiser et al. 1997. So I don't know if y'all can see this, but the first two are the Kohanim family of the Samaritans. And when you go across to the end, the Kohanim have E3B. Both families, E3B, mutation 78. So basically, it's actually coinciding with the biblical narrative that a priest was sent back, whether it be one, whether it be two. A priest was sent back by the Assyrian king, who were taken into captivity to teach the rest of the people, or the rest of the Samaritans, the ways of the God of the land. Then we go down to the Danfi family, all right, and we see there J2F, both J2F, mutation 172, M67, both families. Joshua Mariv, these are the names. I should remember these names from, the presentation itself. Again, J1, 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 mutation 267. Then we have Sedeka, all right, and the same thing for them, 4. So in total, we have 4, 8, we have 12. That's what they said. They had 12. And they have J2, 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 J2. M172, all of them. And then they bring it down here, the Kohanim model haplotype, just for comparison, all right? Because they bring this up, the CMH, the Kohanim model haplotype, and you see J1, J2, mutation 267, and mutation 172. So as we see...
Quick question. Shalom to the family. Yap gang. Okay. This chart, right? I'm looking at this chart. Why are they breaking the Kohen down at the bottom, right? That's linked to the J marker, but then when you go up to where the Y chromosome is being broke down, it's only the Kohen gene 1 and 2 is only dealing with E.
Right.
Right.
Okay. So
like, how is that working?
Okay, because these Kohanim are the Kohanim amongst the Samaritans. All right, these are the Kohanim families amongst that call themselves Samaritans. So that's why I brought up that and said these are the Kohanim or the priests. When you read 2 Kings 17, 20, it should be in 26, around 26, where it says, or 27, where it says that they brought back the Assyrian king sent back priests that were taken into captivity out of the land because the people were being devoured by the people that he placed in the land were being devoured by lions, and they didn't, the land of, the land was devouring the people because they did not know the God of the land. He sent back these priests. These are the ones who came back. This Kohanim model haplotype is just them comparing, saying that amongst these Joshua, these families up here, and Sedekah, there were apparently those who in this family who claimed to be Kohanim priests among these families. And as you see there, J1, 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 J2, 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 J2. And then so they bring up the Kohanim model haplotype, and they're saying that these people, these families down here, outside of the Kohanim up top, these families here, all right, these families have the Kohanim haplotype, that the recent Kohanim haplotype was that P58 in their families. So these are this is the Kohanim haplotype for the I don't want to say fake, but for those who claim Kohanim lineage, right? Ashkenazi Jews. Well, go ahead, bro. If you want to add to it, go ahead.
No, I was just adding, helping you out. They had the CMH down there because that's the name they use, and they designate as being the Kohen marker amongst Ashkenazi Jews and Sephardic Jews. But in the study, the Kohen, like the brother said, the Kohen that they found amongst the Samaritans was actually haplogroup E, which is going with what the brother has been teaching on about the Samaritans being a result of population deportation. And then Assyrians found out that according to the biblical narrative, that the Most High was sending lions to kill the people, so he sent back priests. So the brother is saying the DNA that they found among Samaritans matches that narrative, because we see the priests, they have haplogroup E, but everyone else that's claiming to be Ephraim, you know what I mean? They got haplogroup J.
Right.
Which would be those foreigners.
Right. So when we was talking yesterday, we were saying that, Ivrit had brought up the fact that, some of these people some of Israel was being killed by these invaders. Now, these weren't invaders, all right? People who conquered this particular Jays weren't conquerors. The other Jays were conquerors, and some of these people ran into Yemen, if I'm not mistaken. Is Ivry still here? Ran into Yemen. And so out of conquest, there was some changing of the guard. But here we see the cohesiveness of what Yeshua was saying yesterday, that there were assimilation, cultural assimilation, and what else did you say, brother, yesterday? Cultural assimilation and something else. And yes, language, learning the language, because they would have had to learn a language from the Kohanim up here and the priests to be able to read the Tanakh.
Absolutely.
And the Torah. So
just
they would have,
like the Greeks.
Right. So they would have had to learn the language. So this was by assimilation. And remember now, it's a large, we're talking an area that held 10 tribes, 9 to 10 tribes that these people inhabited. All right. So that's a large, huge amount of people that we hear from our protractors or our ops saying that, we don't see y'all here. We see E1B, 1B, but we don't see y'all here. All we find is J, all we find is R, all we find is T. And I'm going to bring up something else when I finish. I'm going to let everybody finish commenting on this. And this is another hypothesis of mine dealing with another group of people who pretty much match these Y haplotypes, haplogroups, and also others that's not included in here. Because remember, this is a small number of people. They went and they said by 1917, I can't remember the year, this population was decimated to like 170 something people or something like that. right? So there's a lot of haplotypes missing from the original. Remember, if we go back, let me go back real quick to Kings 2. Sorry. Okay, why is it not? Okay. Remember now, if we go back, 2:17, sorry, and 20 cities of Israel filled with strangers. If we go back, we see that there's Babylonians, Cutha, Ava, Hamath, Sepharvaim. All right, this really sticks out. You know, Sephardic. People use that word a lot. Sephardic Jews, saying that it meant a place, like Sephardic meant, you know, Spanish Jews. Well, actually, it meant these people who were placed in the land. Okay, so it's 4 different nations here. Most of them, or whoever ended up staying, ended up with these J1 and J2 haplotypes. I'm gonna let y'all, you know, anybody else want to comment on this, and then from there, I want to go into another study that I have to show some correlation. Because remember, in this particular study now, they made mention about the Babylonian captivity. So we have these people, this particular people caused a lot of strife, and we're going to go into, it's getting late, but I'm going to try to touch on some of it. We're going to go into, Uncle Joey. We're going to go into Uncle Joey and see how much strife they was causing Judah when they came back to rebuild the temple out of the Babylonian captivity. Anybody want to add to this?
Yeah, I just want to say that first hypothesis is powerful, because if you say that those J markers are foreigners, then you have to admit the J markers that are amongst the other Jewish groups are foreigners as well. You know what I'm saying? So this information is very pertinent, because it reveals if you guys are these people that the Assyrians placed in the land, and you're not the descendants of Jacob. You can't be. It's impossible.
And to add to what you're saying, Yashu, this is where we see them placing themselves in the Kohen gene, right?
Yeah. Hold on. I'm sorry. Shawn, hold on for a second. I'm sorry. I see somebody said in the chat that there's bots. If there's any Shari rule, if y'all down there, make sure no bots get through, please, because they're coming for us hard. Apparently they're coming for us hard now because too much is coming out. All right, go ahead. Finish up, Ishar. Pardon me, pardon yourself, bro.
It's all good. No, what I was saying was this is very clear to me on how they input themselves into a marker haplogroup that they don't belong. And then if you're looking into the Assyrian aspect of it, there it separates and it shows you that they input themselves in the Kohen gene. I'm not saying that they wasn't in the land, that they marker wasn't there, because again, it's the cradle of civilization. So all haplogroups should be there, right? They should be there. But there's a distinction between the J and the E. And it's clearly telling us they're not the same people. So for them to input themselves in there is at the bottom where it says Kohen 1 and 2, but then you get to the haplogroup, it's J. That should ring that should wave the flag for you. Something ain't right.
Right. So again, the Kohanim haplotype, or the Kohanim model haplotype, which is on the bottom, this is a recent interjection. Yeshua had brought this up. We've all stated this before, and I'm sure that everybody that's into DNA knows that the person who took this study, I think it was back in the 1990s, am I right, Yeshua? That did this study, he himself was a Cohen, and but he was of the J marker. So he said, okay, well, I'm a Cohen, so I'm gonna just use my marker and say that these are the Kohanim. This is how this happened. This is how we ended up with this particular marker. because the person who did the study, who was a Cohen, said, basically he just said, well, I'm a Cohenine. Well, then, my particular haplogroup and mutation, P50, P58, I can't remember right now. But anyway, is the Cohenine marker. So that's how we ended up with this J1 and J2, M26 and M172 down here for the Cohenine marker. So that's how that came about. But this is right now being refuted, and it's been being refuted over some years now. And we see here from the biblical narrative, again, E3B, were the Kohanim that was brought back into Assyria. All right. So, okay, I'm going to come out of this particular. Let me see. Come out of this particular one, and I'm going to go into the lumber. Why am I going into the lumber family? Take a wild guess. Anybody want to take a guess? Anybody? No takers.
Oh, I would think that you're going here because the so-called Jews say that they're linked to these people.
Well, not just that. We have to remember that there was a mass divorce because remember now the Samaritans was still in the Northern Kingdom, and they were very much active in the Northern Kingdom and in the Southern Kingdom when the Southern Kingdom was taken into Babylon. All right. And so when this mass divorce happened, there were people amongst, they keep saying that they brought these people back from Babylon and they were marrying into them. Well, actually, some of these people were right in their midst. All right. And so why I'm bringing this up is because by the Lemba's oral tradition, they say that they were exiled because of marrying foreign women. So the people that's telling you this story today couldn't have married those foreign women. They would have to be the offspring of the men, who married these foreign women. So we should see some correlation between the DNA, right? So we know that the Lemba, we see that we have E, 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 then we have J, J, we have K, L, Q, we have all the J's down here. These are Y chromosomes, all right? 267, that was over in the other study. 172 was in the other study, all right? We have the E's up here. We also have others, K, L, O, P, R. We have others that's in here that may account for the other nations. Let me pull that back up real quick. Sorry, family. These other nations, the Assyrian king, the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, Cutha, Ava, Hamath, Sepharvaim into the land of Samaria. So, I can't make a definitive proclamation, but the evidence is pointing somewhere, family. Don't y'all think?
Agree. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I agree. All the evidence is pointing to something very, very fascinating. But also, I'd like to add on to what you said about the Limba. Urban Apologetics (UA) loves to use this argument about the Limba. They love to say, well, the Limba claim that they descend from white ancestors, that they come from white men. You typically hear them say that. Well, actually, I would actually agree with that. Some of the Limba would descend from white men, the ones with the J markers, because J markers would have been light-skinned, Armenoid-looking peoples. So whenever they bring up, the Limba, they claim they descend from white men, I'd be like, yeah, the J markers do. That doesn't hurt our argument.
The people of the Caucasus.
Yeah, so I just wanted to correlate that. I'm not saying that I'm right on this, but the evidence is pointing somewhere. So as the research come in and more, and especially amongst the Buba, which are the priests of the lumber, they come up as E. You know, the Buba are the priestly clan or the Kohanim, and they come up as E. So, you know, you know, there's some things, there's some more things that we have to, there's some more things that we have to look into as these studies come down. You know, so this is going to piss some people off too with me saying, you know, with the lumber and the Samaritans and pointing out that, wait.
Can you go back up just a little bit?
Sure.
First one, right there where it says conclusion.
Hold on, put my glasses back on.
While it was not possible to trace, that was it. While it's not possible to trace unequivocally the origins of the non-African Y chromosome in the limba and rimba, this study does not support the early claims of their Jewish genetic heritage.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, you guys could grab this study too. There's plenty studies on the limba. Plenty. All right. So guys could grab them, look them up, pull them up, read them. Like I said, I'm not saying that I'm right here, but it's pointing somewhere. And, you know, the Samaritans were heavily involved in the actions that were going on during the time of Nehemiah, Ezra, the mass divorce. You know, they were right there. They continued to be a problem and a thorn, and they sat all the way down past up until the time of the Maccabees. All right. All the way till now, because you see there's still 170 something of them still there in 1917. You know, and so these samples of, let me go back to it. These samples of the Samaritans, these samples of these Samaritans were taken in Israel. As these people are still there. All right. And not just there, but there, you know, it said that some of them were moved out because of the invasion of Muslims and, you know, genocide and things of that nature. So they went into Iraq and different places. All right. So let's go here real quick. Let's go to Uncle Joey. Where he at? Okay, why am I not getting back in here? Sorry, family. We could close this up. We're going to close those up for now. Okay. There's my Kindle. Okay. All right. So this is Uncle Joey, and this is Shalmaneser takes Samaria by force, transplants the 10 tribes into Media, and removes the Kuthians into Judah. All right. So this is, I'm not going to read this right here, but maybe I'll read it. But this is just repeating basically the reason why the king of Assyria, Shalmaneser, went into Samaria in the first place, because Hosea was not admitted into the city by the king, besieged Samaria 3 years and took it by force in the 9th year of the reign of Hosea. And in the 7th year, Hezekiah, king of Jerusalem, quite demolished the government of the Israelites and transplanted all their people into Media and Persia, among whom he took King Hoshea alive. And when he had removed these people out of their land, he transplanted other nations of Cutha, a place so called for there is still a river that has its name in Persia, right? Into Samaria and into the country of the Israelites. So the 10 tribes of the Israelites were removed out of Judea 947 years after their forefathers had come out of the land of Egypt, excuse me, and possessed themselves of the country, but 800 years after Joshua had been their leader, and as I have already observed, 240 years, 7 months, and 7 days after they had revolted from Rehoboam, the grandson of David, and had given the kingdom to Jeroboam. Let's see if I can find. I'm going to find something here. But the Cutheans who removed Samaria for their name and called this the time because they were brought out of the country called Cutha, which is the country of Persia. Same. Okay, let's move forward a little bit. Okay, so this talks about the gods brought their own gods. Where in the number 5 brought their own gods into Samaria by worshiping them, and was also the custom of their own countries. They provoked Almighty God to anger and displeased them for the plague seized upon them, by which they were destroyed. Again, this is, you guys could go over this. I could read it all for you, but it's getting late. I gotta get to bed. But if you go into Josephus, you'll find that there was a lot of trouble. I'm trying to find one incident. I'm trying to find at least, the first couple of incidents that they went through. Called Baron, but freed high priest from his bonds. The Sidonians also were very willing. Okay, so this is the Sidonians willing to help Judah rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, and the Sidonians. So let's see if we can find that. Okay. They also began to build the temple and gave great deal of money to the masons and to the carpenters and what was necessary for the maintenance of the workmen. The Sidonians also, who were very willing and ready to bring the cedar trees from Lebanon to bind them together and to make a united float of them and to bring them to the port of Joppa. For that was what Cyrus had commanded at first, and what was now done at the command of Darius. All right, but when the Samaritans, who were still enemies to the tribes of Judah and Benjamin, heard the sound of the trumpets, they came running together and desired to know what was the occasion of the tumult. And when they perceived that it was from the Jews who had been carried captive to Babylon and were rebuilding their temple, they came to Zerubbabel and to Jeshua and to the heads of the families and desired that they would give them leave to build the temple with them and to be partners with them in building it. For they said, we worship their God and especially pray to them. But they were turned down. All right. And desirous to build a religious Assyria transacted Cuthean media. Let's go down and see if I can find it. When the Cutheans heard this, for the Samaritans have that appellation, all right, let's move up because it's like I want to make sure it's in context. So the Samaritans were still the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, heard the sound of trumpets. Okay, let's move forward. When they said thus, Zerubbabel and Jeshua, the high priest, and the heads of the families of the Israelites replied to them that it was impossible for them to permit them to be their partners. All right, so these are Judeans. All right, this is Judah telling the Samaritans that they didn't need their help, whilst they only had been appointed to build the temple at first by Cyrus and now by Darius, although it was indeed lawful for them to come and worship there if they pleased, and they could allow them nothing but that in common with them, which was common to them, with all other men, to come to their temple and worship God there. When the Cutheans, who are the Samaritans, heard this, for the Samaritans have that appellation, they had indignation at it and persuaded the nations of Syria to desire of the governors in the same manner as they had done formerly in the days of Cyrus, and again in the days of Cambyses afterwards, to put a stop to the building of the temple and to endeavor to protract the Jews in their zeal about it. So if you keep going into, Uncle Joey's writings, you're going to find, and other people's writing too. I have another book that, I can't get into tonight because it's getting late. But, the Samaritans continue with, this went on giving Judah problems all the way up until the time of the Maccabees. So So that's basically, it in a nutshell. I mean, there's more to it, but like I said, I tried to throw this together. I got home from work late tonight, and I said I was going to put this together because last night I was on the hook once I spoke up and said that I was going to put this particular article out. I mean, I was going to deal with the article. I'm probably, most people didn't even know that this article was concerning Samaritans was even, available, but I had the good fortune to run across it. Bro Hadani, helped me out with that. He said it to me once he found out what I was working on, and I explained to him, and he was intrigued by it. He's like, "Oh, if I run into anything, I'm gonna send it to you." And he sent it to me. All praise the Most High. Any more comments on the situation on the?
I just want to point out to all the people that's gonna be upset. I know the white Hebrew Israelites is gonna be upset. Get mad at the people that wrote these articles because they're the ones hypothesizing that these J markers are foreigners. They're the ones that published it, got it peer reviewed, and uploaded on these various scientific research platforms. You know what I'm saying? So y'all don't have to deal with that. Brother did an excellent job in the information in this case of the priest being Eve because of the historical events in 2 Kings, the 17th chapter, where, like the brother said, the original Israelites were deported. They transplanted foreigners, and the foreigners were getting killed. And as a result, the Assyrians brought back the priests so they could teach them the ways of the land. And the DNA seems to reflect that. And that's what that paper was pointing out. And that's what the brother was pointing out. J markers being those foreigners that the Assyrians placed in the land, and the E markers being the original Israelite marker. Great job, brother.
Thank you, bro. Also, I just wanted to point this out real quick too. This is the temple that the Samaritans built, in a high place. We talked about the high places, but this is a temple that they built in Gerizim. This is the Samaritan temple. This was the temple that they did their sacrifices in, as opposed to in Jerusalem. So they had built themselves a whole separate temple. So this time period is, you have no idea of the strife that was going on between Judah and the Samaritans, these Samaritan Jews. So, I now that I put that out there, and, you guys could go and research this, you'll see just how much problems they were given. Judah, when they came back, when the kingdom of Judah came back into the land to rebuild a temple after the 70 years of captivity in Babylon.
Great presentation. Yeah, really good, really insightful. And no one can blame you because all you did was just read sources. So very good, very nice.
God, all praises to the Most High. Yeshua, you got anything you want to say, brother, before?
Man, just excellent, bro. I appreciate these sources, bro, because I'm sure about to dig on in them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I want us to do. We're a study group, so I want everybody, when you get something, bro, bring it to the table. Let's chop it up. Let's get to the bottom of this. I still haven't finished this. Like I said, this particular presentation belonged to a larger presentation concerning the corruption of the Levitical priesthood, ultimately bringing about the disbandment of the Levitical priesthood. It was so corrupted, and the last destruction of the temple, when Yeshua gave up the ghost on the cross, and the curtain rented, and a crack went through the foundation or the floor of the temple, marking basically the Most High disbanding basically the Levitical priesthood for a time, not forever, but for a time, and bringing forward the priesthood, the Melchizedek priesthood through Yeshua. So that's a much bigger, that's probably going to be about 5 or 4 presentations long. At some point, I'm going to finish it up and then just start presenting it. And this will be a part of it as well.
Brother Ezekiel Ben Yisrael said, great lesson. Were any other Samaritans EP2?
Well, according to the study that we just seen, we didn't see any, we don't know historically. There may have been others. Like I said, that's why I broke out the study with the Lemba, because if the Lemba truly are the disbanded or the children or the offspring of these divorces, then they would show all of the different actual haplotypes among Y chromosome haplotypes among the Samaritans and Judah, because it wasn't just the Samaritans who were marrying foreign women, it was also Judah. So this is why you see E, you see R, you see J, you see all these different haplotypes. We won't know with the Samaritans because it was a small population that they took these samples from in sequence, but the samples yield something very, very noticeable to us, which was the majority of them were J, and just the priesthood was E, E3B.
Powerful.
So with that, family, that's it for my presentation. I thank everybody for coming in. If anybody has, I expect that, people take any work that we put out and expand it. I know, if you find something that I may have been wrong in, no problem. We could build on it. We could add whatever you find. We could take out whatever we find that is wrong with it as a family, as a study group. And I just hope that this edified everybody and they could take this and they could take this baton and finish the race.
Facts. All right, family, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and share on the social media platforms. We appreciate each and every one of y'all. We will be back tomorrow with our brother Avery. If you want to just, give them a taste of that, Avery, what to expect tomorrow on your channel and on this channel, as far as next presentation goes.
Yeah. So the next presentation that I'm going to do on Shoop's channel tomorrow is basically going to deal with who is Proto-Semites, who is Shem. It's going to be a compare and contrast video of haplogroup E versus J. We're going to go through the origins of Afroasiatics, the origins of Semites, where was haplogroup E at the time, and where was haplogroup J at the time when the origins of Afroasiatics and Semites emerged. We're also going to look at when it comes to the ancient civilizations in the Middle East, as well as the genomes of modern day Middle Easterners, because, I feel like we should know that the Middle East was complex. Also, we're going to basically look and see what do scholars say about the origins of Semites and Afroasiatics. What haplogroup did they have according to the writings of various people like Edward Lipsky and Christopher Ehret and Alexander Matovey and many other linguists. And we're going to see what do they say? Is Semites E or are they J? We're going to look into, was there an adoption of languages from another group of people? We're going to look and see, in the ancient Near East, did people start to adopt other languages from different groups? And we're just going to cover a lot tomorrow. It's actually going to be really, really a long video, but it will be insightful. And as always, I'll break those videos down into smaller chunks. But that's just some of the stuff we're going to cover. It's going to really be actually, I probably shouldn't say too much. Yeah, that's the stuff we're going to cover.
So, long story short, the WHIs are going to be mad again.
Oh yeah.
Listen, we got to put this work in, man. Tomorrow another powerful study. We're gonna keep this work coming at y'all, man. We appreciate the support. So I see Zaya down there. I think Zaya was in the clubhouse when I gave this first presentation too on Clubhouse. Shalom, Zaya. But yeah. family, this was great. I'm glad I was able to share this and elucidate some information on this particular subject, because like I said, it's been coming up and it kept coming up, and it was like the Most High was like poking me, and then I was still working on the big presentation, and I know the family fed up with me because this thing was supposed to come out like a year ago, but I decided to just pull this part out because it just kept coming up and coming up and coming up. So hey, let me get some of that. We're gonna get that work. Let the ops know they're gonna get that work. Where that's at?
I got you, brother. Once again, great job, and I'm sure this is not gonna be the last time the family gonna get to see you bring out some information.
God, it won't.
Yeah, my brother Shawn give me all that work, man.
Let me work. Please let me work. Get that water. He about to get this work. He about to get this work. Hold up. Hold up. He gonna get this work. You gonna get this work, nigga. Hold up. He gonna get this work. He gonna get this work, nigga. I killed you. Hold up. He gonna get this work. Hold up. Hold up. You niggas gonna get this work, you hear me? Me. He ain't even get the second verse, but he gonna get this work. Hold up, man. He gonna get this work. He gonna get this work. He gonna get this work. Hold up, man. Let me work. He gonna get this work, nigga. Watch me work. He gonna get this work. He gonna get this work. Yeah, he gonna get this work. Hold up. He gonna get this work.
Yes, indeed, man. Shawn, he gave y'all that work today, man, and he will be back to continue that work, man. Y'all stay in tune. Tomorrow, my brother Avery gonna set the internet on fire again. You know what I'm saying? WHI is gonna be upset. Afrocentric's gonna be upset. But we don't do it because of how certain people emote, the type of emotions they may have. We do it because we're researchers and we're trying to elucidate ancestry and reveal to the world who these people are. All right. So with that, we're gonna say shalom, peace. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yep.
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 Yeah.
Big business.
RSK, let it play.
When I tell them I'm an Israelite, it's big business, not miniature. Serving same thing as minister. Kill the flesh, how to finish them. These commandments, they'll sustain you. I'm surrounded by these angels. I ain't worried, I'm protected from seen and unseen dangers. When I tell them I'm an Israelite, it's big business, not miniature. Serving same thing as minister. Kill the flesh, how to finish them. These commandments, they'll sustain you. I'm surrounded by these angels. I ain't worried, I'm protected from seen and unseen dangers. I wake up inside me a prayer, brush my teeth, babe, then I throw on some threads. Wash my face, grab a cup, hold me some yum on my backpack, then I'm off to the bread. I eat these devils for breakfast, gotta be careful. Whole lot of blood being shed in the streets. Running so wicked, I weep for the living, I drop a free cheer for the dead. All my white is in my pocket, or either they loading onto this black card that I swipe. Say every time that I been diverse, be hitting more harder than problems of life. Rich, I collected 2 pennies from every person that willingly gave me advice. Being afraid can't exist in my spirit, I'm fearing no man but the Father in Christ. I put in work with the brothers, we stood on them corners from 10 to like 9 or some night. Teaching our people the gospel, equipped with a camera, some posters, some speakers and mic. Every time that I see she telling me, son, you gotta walk in the light. Christ, the bread of heaven, keep feeding my spirit, and I want to load, not a slide. When I tell them I'm an Israelite, it's big business, not miniature. Same thing as minister. Kill the flesh, how to finish them. These commandments, they'll sustain you. I'm surrounded by these angels. I ain't worried, I'm protected from seen and unseen dangers. When I tell them I'm an Israelite, it's big business, not miniature. The same thing as minister. Kill the flesh, how to finish them. These commandments, they'll sustain you. I'm surrounded by these angels. I ain't worried, I'm protected from seen and unseen dangers. When
tribe of Judah, don't you take it personal. Bleed the blood on these demons, we purging them. Don't entertain Jezebels, we be curving them. Hey, I got a ribbon, she virtuous. In person, this blue life ain't virtual. I can't forget when I heard the truth. I got cut with that word, it got surgical. Conviction can lead to repentance. I pray these verses encourage you. We repented, now we on the vertical. Judah rising, see Isaiah 32. Big business, nothing minuscule. I picked up that pen back in middle school. Guard your light and take heed who you listen to. Watch your mouth and your ears and your vision too. Hashatan and Shao Kahn won't finish you. In Mortal Kombat, this war is not physical. Gird your loins up and follow the general. Messiah is coming, that's scriptural. You gotta starve your flesh. The real war ain't even started yet. This look like a setup for a second exodus. I'm trying to be the war to end. Let's get it.
When I tell them I'm an Israelite, it's big business. I'm in service. I think it's mental. Kill the flesh, how to finish them. These commandments, they'll sustain you. I'm surrounded by these angels. I ain't worried, I'm protected from seen and unseen dangers. When I tell them I'm an Israelite, it's big business, I'm miniature. Serve the same thing as minister. Kill the flesh, how to finish them. These commandments, they'll sustain you. I'm surrounded by these angels. I ain't worried, I'm protected from seen and unseen dangers.